How's everyone doing? Welcome to the session. My name is Mike Rosen. Excited to be here, talking with everyone. So before I get into everything, there's a couple announcements they asked me to make. So first off, welcome to the fourth annual Grid. And just as a reminder, there's 21 workshops over the next 2 days between today and tomorrow. I've shared some links in the chat. If you don't see them, I'll add them again at the end. But the link to Filmocracy will provide you with access to all the workshops. And then there's also a link with the schedule for all the workshops posted. And And if you'd like, you can follow the Grid on Instagram. The handle is at the Grid Summit. And there you can learn more about other events in the works. All right, so now we got those announcements out of the way. Quick introduction of myself. So again, my name is Mike Rosen. I'm the VP of Development at a company called Prettybird. And I'm also the Executive Creative Director at its sister company, a creative studio called Ventureland. So who is Prettybird? Who is Ventureland? I'm going to kind of walk you through what we do as a company, what I do, and then I'm going to kind of walk you through the process of how we go about creating commercials, music videos, and I'll show you some of the work that we've produced.
This is good.
Yeah, it sounds like, I don't know if someone needs to go on mute. It's a little noisy in the background. So Prettybird, you may have seen some of our work in the past. We're a production company based in Los Angeles. We're in our 15th year. We produce primarily advertising, so commercials, branded entertainment, but we also do a lot of music videos. We do interactive work, experiential. And we also have a roster of filmmakers that we represent exclusively for commercials and music videos. Some of our directors you might be very familiar with. Among our roster, we represent the Daniels. We didn't have anything to do with their film, but you've probably seen it. Everything Everywhere All at Once. It's nominated for a ton of Oscars. Anyways, we represent them for commercials and music videos. We also represent Melina Matsoukas, incredible director. She's the showrunner for HBO series Insecure. We did the film Queen and Slim. Tim and Eric, the comedy duo. So we represent a really diverse roster of filmmakers, again, for commercials and music videos. Yeah, again, I'm sorry to interrupt. It sounds like someone's not on mute, but we're just hearing a lot of background noise. So if you're able to mute, that'd be great. Thank you. And then Ventureland is a company that we started a couple years ago, which is essentially the creative studio wing of Prettybird. So we also, in addition to producing content, we also develop original entertainment ideas. So what does that mean? So we develop and produce film and TV projects, a lot of which are documentaries. We did The Rescue, which you can see on Nat Geo, among many others. And then we also are developing TV series, both, non-scripted, like reality TV, documentary series, as well as scripted. We have a show that we'll be producing for Apple, as an example, this summer. We also do podcasts. And then Ventureland also has a creative services division, and that's the division that I oversee. And I'll get into what that looks like in a sec. But essentially, it kind of acts like an ad agency where we will work directly with brands to develop creative concepts, whether it's for, just a one-off commercial or a full 360 campaign, which means, you're doing stuff for TV, commercials. You might do some like out-of-home stuff like billboards and posters or experiential stuff. Or maybe there's just a brand that has a cause that they're getting behind and that they want to create some content around. So, we'll work directly with them in developing what those ideas are. So before I go any further, I wanted to share just some sizzle reels for both companies, Prettybird and Ventureland, just so you can kind of see some of the work that we've produced. So I'll bring that up right now. And let me know if you guys have any problems seeing or hearing anything.
I'd like to thank the most incredible team for directing such an incredible video.
Execution does not miss the promises that they make. It's going to happen for you.
All right, that was some of Prettybird's work. Now I will show you Ventureland sizzle reel. All right, hopefully you guys were all able to see and hear that. So that's just a little sample of some of the work that we've produced through Prettybird and Ventureland. So what I want to do now is kind of explain to you from a very high level, what the process is for creating advertising campaigns. And again, I'll kind of walk you through the process, from what we do at Prettybird, and then I'll use an example of a project that we did through Ventureland. So first off, so on the Prettybird side of things, as a production company, when we are producing jobs, we're getting jobs in that are being sent to us from the ad agencies. So most big companies, we're talking. Sorry about that. Can you guys still hear me okay? Can you guys hear me now?
Loud and clear. Yeah, we're not there
Sorry,
for
I'm
about
getting like
15
invites to
seconds.
like other chats, so I don't know what those are about. Sorry, so I don't know where you guys lost me. But on the Prettybird side of things, so when we're producing jobs, we're getting projects sent to us from ad agencies. So, we work with, all the large global agencies in the world and all the major brands. So we're talking like the Nikes and Adidas and Apples and Samsungs, all of these companies. So most of these companies work with, sometimes they might work with one ad agency, their agency of record. Other times they might have multiple agencies that they work with, and these agencies vary in size. There's massive agencies that have dozens of teams of creatives and producers and strategists working for specific clients that they work with. And different projects. There's mid-sized agencies, and then there's much smaller boutique agencies that might work with just a handful of clients and just have like one internal creative team. And I just mentioned this, and I'll kind of, when I walk you through in more detail what that process looks like, I'm trying to give you guys ideas of some of the jobs and career paths that you might be interested in. When I got into this, I had an interest in film and directing. I had very little interest in advertising, but I was kind of introduced to it and really saw the potential of just the kind of incredibly beautiful and moving, profound work that you can do as a creative in advertising. Both on the creative advertising side as well as a director and writer. So there's a lot of paths you can take there. So starting at the beginning, at Prettybird, we will get a project in from an agency. We refer to them as boards, or it might just be, a script. Usually they send us a PDF, and that's the creative idea that they have, that they've developed for their client. And gotten, usually 9 times out of 10, when we get these boards sent to us, that idea has already been approved by their client. Sometimes it's still in that process, but usually, they've pitched it to their client, again, the Nike, Samsungs, whoever, and they've signed off on it. And that process, that can take, months, to a year. Sometimes it's a really fast process. So it's always different. But oftentimes they're going through, rounds of revisions and developing those ideas. But by the time it comes to us, it's been approved. It's in a pretty good shape. So we'll get these boards, and oftentimes, when they're sent to us, they might have a particular director in mind on our roster that they would like to have bid on it and ideally direct it. Other times they might come to us, just as a company, knowing that we have this incredibly diverse roster of filmmakers, and they'll look to us to be like, okay, here's the job, here's the budget, who do you think would be right for it? And so we'll take a look at those boards and then kind of make a decision based on that. If they do have a director in mind, let's say the Daniels as an example, then our executive producers will take a look at the creative concept, see if it, if we even like the creative to begin with, sometimes, and if it seems like it's a good fit for that director. Sometimes a creative might come in and they want, a director of ours, but it doesn't really seem like it's a good fit for them. It doesn't seem like it's something that would help their portfolio. So we might pass on it for those reasons, or try and put another director up for it. Other times, typically, we don't like to take on jobs based on the budget, but if they send us a creative idea, that's $1 million idea, but they only have like $50,000 for it, and there's literally no way to produce it, then we might pass on it. But assuming the creative is really strong, we like the creative, the concept of that commercial, the budget makes sense, The director will share it with the director, and as long as they're interested and want to engage, then we'll officially engage, and we'll start that process. So what does that look like? So first off, we'll get on a call with the agency. We'll do a first call, and that's usually with the creatives who came up with that idea along with their producers. So there might be a creative director. There's usually a copywriter. They're the ones who are actually writing it, coming up with the dialogue and taglines. There'll be an art director who kind of oversees, the visual, the visual world and aesthetic of it. So, sometimes, again, there could be like multiple copywriters, multiple creative directors, depending on the scope and scale of the job. And that job might have a script for just one commercial, or there might be scripts as part of a much larger campaign, where there's, 3 or 4 spots, TV spots, commercials, plus ideas for, social media campaign. So every job's a little different. So once we hop on that call, it's usually an opportunity for the creatives on the ad agency side to walk our director through the idea. And, they'll kind of outline, what they're looking for from the director, how they want to elevate and bring that spot to life. There might be some guardrails, some red flags, for the director. Just kind of some watch outs, kind of explaining to the director before they go back and work on their director's treatment, don't go down this path. We already went down this way, with the client. They didn't like this, maybe it has something to do with the tone or dialogue or certain scenes. It could be anything. So they'll kind of just give us a heads up as to like what not to do. And sometimes, their scripts are really baked in and they have a very clear vision of what they want to do. And it's really kind of just looking to the director to kind of execute those ideas. Other times, it's kind of a blank slate where here's the seed of an idea, and we're coming to you because, we love you as a director and we trust you, and we want you to kind of take this idea and run with it. So we'll kind of discuss all those things. The director might have some questions, but that's all kind of done on that first call. And then once we do that, then we get into our bidding and treatment process. So as the VP of Development of Prettybird, I'm overseeing our creative development division. And so I will immediately start working with the director and the EPs on their treatment. And I have a team that I manage with image researchers and designers. And if the director doesn't write their own treatment, I'm kind of overseeing, bringing on a freelance writer. And so what is a director's treatment? You guys might not even know what that is. So a director's treatment is a big part of the process in terms of, a director bidding on a job and getting it awarded. And essentially what it is it's a document, typically we'll ultimately send the agency a PDF, or these days more and more we're doing hosted treatments, so we'll send a link, that they read and view through a browser. But essentially what it is it's a document that's outlining the director's vision of how they're going to execute and bring their ideas to life. So, it's literally in the first person, it's their voice, no treatment, there's no template or format that you have to follow for a treatment, but essentially, you're talking about, and every job's a little different, a comedy dialogue treatment might look and sound a lot different than something that's, more of like a story driven or VFX driven ad. But, it's the director saying like, hey, thanks for, having me part of this job and giving me an opportunity to pitch on this. Here's how I see it coming to life. And they'll talk about the tone of this spot. If it's a comedy spot, or is it very deadpan and straight face, or are we going a little sillier? We'll talk about the cinematography and the visual style. What is the look of the film? What's the lighting going to look like? Are we doing some really dynamic camera work, and some very dynamic transitions, where we're doing, seamless transitions, or is it a little bit more straightforward? And so the director will kind of walk the agency and the client in this document what that process looks like. We'll talk about casting. What are the actors? What are the kind of actors that we want to bring on? What are their characters like? Does the director have a process, for getting the performances out of them? And then we'll also, usually do a script walkthrough. So we'll take the script that the agency wrote up and sent us, and we'll do our own version of it. And now, obviously, the agency wrote the script, so we don't want to just copy and paste it back to them. So instead, we're kind of adding a lot more detail. We're trying to paint a very vivid picture of the director's vision. So when the agency and the client is reading their treatment, they can really see in their head, how the directors kind of bring it to life. Sorry, yeah. If you guys have any questions that you want to put in the chat, by all means, go for it. Otherwise, if there's time permitting, I'll save some time at the end for a Q&A. But yeah, so we'll do a script walkthrough where it's literally the director saying like, okay, we open on this and then we cut to this. And again, it's a really great opportunity for the director to kind of outline, the camera work, again, if there's some cool camera work and how we're transitioning from one scene to the next, or maybe if it's a comedy spot, we'll put in some funny jokes or, some alt lines of dialogue in there. Yeah. And so that's, and in parallel with that, we're putting that together, as a written document. We'll work with writers, and the director will brief a writer, and we'll kind of go through. We usually have about a week to kind of work on this treatment. And while we're doing that, we have a whole team of people that are pulling image references, and we're creating a layout. We're putting together what's called a pitch deck, which is, the director's words along with all these incredibly beautiful visuals. Could be GIFs, could be links to video, to scenes or references. Again, it's all meant to kind of, reflect the director's vision of how they see this spot. And typically, this process, we're bidding against, one or two other production companies and directors. It's called a triple bid. Every now and again, we might get single bid where it's just us, but typically the agencies, are getting treatments in and talking to at least 3 directors. So again, the treatment oftentimes can be what gets them the job or doesn't. Sometimes it might come down to budget. And so during this process, we also have a team of bidding producers, and our EPs are, working on the bid and budget to make sure that, we're hitting their numbers and, we're not kind of pitching an idea that, we can't produce for the budget that they have. So my team, myself and my team and the director, we're working hand in hand with these producers, making sure that the director's vision and the budget all align. So then after like a few days, a week, however long they give us to work on our treatment and budget, we'll then turn that in. We'll share that with the agency. We'll get back on another call. This time it's the director's opportunity to walk the agency creatives through their vision. So again, at this point, they've already read the director's treatment, so they might kind of walk them through from a very high level or kind of walk them through the script. The creatives might have some questions for the director that might not have been clear in the treatment, or just raise some new ideas, or they might have some feedback that they'd like the director to go back and address. But essentially, it's the director pitching the agency, on what their approach is. And once they've done that, again, sometimes we might have some revisions that we need to turn around and resubmit. But at that point, once the ad agency has received all their treatments and bids, they go back to their client. Oftentimes they might have a recommendation, like, here are all the companies and directors that we receive treatments from. Here are their approaches and budgets. Here's the person that we recommend moving forward with. Now, it's ultimately up to their client if they want to move forward with that recommend or not. Sometimes the agency just lets the client decide. They don't even make a recommendation. So let's say they were lucky and they award the job to us. Then we start going into the next phase, which is production. So at that point, we'll hire a line producer, and we'll start hiring like all the freelance, all the key crew members that the director wants to bring on. So we'll bring on a line producer. Again, their job is kind of overseeing the day-to-day logistics of the physical production of the job. And then we'll also, look into hiring a DP, the cinematographer. They're in charge. They work hand in hand with the director on, what the look of the film is going to be and the lighting. The production designer will bring on, so they are in charge of, designing, the set. If we're building a set or if we're going on location, just the overall art direction, what that whole scene looks like, costume designer and wardrobe, hair and makeup. So just like any movie or short film, there's an entire crew that we're bringing on to help see this come to life. And then, we'll scout locations, we'll find our locations, and then we'll go and shoot the commercial. Usually they can range from anywhere from a 1-day shoot to a 5-day shoot. Sometimes we'll shoot them here in LA. Sometimes we'll shoot them overseas in other countries. Again, that might be just based on the budget, that it's, it might be cheaper to shoot in another country. So it all depends on the job and the budget and what the creative concept is. When it comes to music videos is similar, but a little slightly different. Music videos, there's no ad agency. We're usually getting a brief in from the record label. So they have a new track from an artist. Sometimes that artist might have an idea that they want a director to develop. But more often than not, it's a pretty blank canvas for the director. So we'll get the track in, and then we'll kind of seed it out to whichever directors that the label and artist has in mind, or we'll put up multiple directors to bid on it, and they'll just kind of listen to that track and come up with whatever it is. And again, we'll send them a treatment, which is the director's vision. So it's this beautiful deck with images and written that's explaining what the concept is. And then we'll submit it to the record label. And, if the artist and label like it, then we get the job awarded. And again, we move into production. So now I kind of wanted to segue a little bit what the process looks like on the Ventureland side of things. So again, Ventureland is a company that we created 3 or 4 years ago. So we develop and produced film and TV properties. Again, most of what we've done so far is feature documentaries, but we also have a creative services division. So while we're not an ad agency, a lot of what we do is modeled after an ad agency. We don't manage like the media, and we don't buy the airtime for our clients, but we will work directly with brands to develop the ideas. And that's, as the executive creative director, I'm overseeing that entire process. So what does that look like? I'll kind of go through that process, and I'm going to show you an example of one of the jobs that we did. So we will, when a brand reaches out to us, again, that's, any company like, Nike or Amazon, whoever it might be, they'll come to us with a brief. So again, that might just be, they want to create a commercial around a specific product or some sort of initiative that they're doing, or it might be a bigger campaign. So Ventureland is a unique studio in that we do work as a sister company to Prettybird. We have the entire roster of directors that we work with, that we partner up with. So depending on what the brief is, sometimes we'll then seed that brief out to a lot of the directors on our roster. Depending on who we think might be a good fit for it and interested and even available. If they're off on a shoot, we're not going to send it to them. So we'll seed it out to them and see who's interested. And a lot of these directors on our roster, they're just incredible storytellers. They're idea generators. Some of them are celebrities in their own right and have these big built-in audiences. So the clients really like, when they're getting ideas directly from them. It's kind of raw storytelling, like straight from the storytellers. So we'll seed out these ideas. We'll give them the idea like, hey, we got this job in from Amazon. This is what they want to do. This is what they're looking for. And then we'll let them go back and see, what ideas they come up with. And I'll work directly with them on developing those ideas, since I'm interfacing with the client and I kind of know what they're looking for and what they're not looking for. Other times, if it's a much bigger campaign, I will hire freelance teams of creatives. And these are usually creatives that have a more traditional ad agency background, but they work on a freelance basis. So again, it could be a creative director, copywriter, art director, usually all three. Sometimes, again, depending on if it's a really big job, I'll bring on multiple teams, and we'll have them both working on generating ideas in parallel and kind of see which ideas rise to the top, and we'll develop those ideas. And then ultimately, based on where those ideas kind of net out, we'll then go back to the client and pitch them the idea, see which ones resonate. Hopefully at least one of them resonates, and they might have some feedback, and we kind of go through rounds of development. But hopefully they love one of the ideas, one of the concepts, and award us and sign off and approve it. And if they do, then usually we'll then award that job to Prettybird, since it's our sister company, and we'll get a director on board and just kind of go through the process that I just walked you through in terms of, then it goes into production. But because we are our own separate company, we can technically work with any production company we wanted to. It doesn't have to be Prettybird. So as a case study for what that can look like, I want to talk about this one job that was really exciting that I oversaw last year, which was for the LA Rams, called On the Clock. Some of you guys may have seen some pop-ups here. So last year, the LA Rams reached out to us about bidding on a job for doing some content for the NFL draft. So, and the backstory is, and again, I won't get too in the weeds here if you guys aren't big sports fans or don't follow the Rams, but I'm sure many of you know 2 years ago they won the Super Bowl. So that year, they kind of took a slightly different approach to most other football teams, and they traded away a lot of their future draft picks in order to get veteran players that would make an immediate impact, because they wanted to go all in on winning the Super Bowl, right? So usually most teams don't do that. They're trying to think ahead and build long term. It paid off for the Rams, obviously. They won the Super Bowl, which was super exciting. But what that meant was that for that following draft, they weren't going to be part of the conversation because they didn't have any high draft picks. They weren't going to be, on the news shows, and who are they going to pick in the first or second round? But being LA, they do things differently. They wanted to plant a flag in the ground and just show that they do things differently. And, they're in Hollywood, and they wanted to make a big splash. And knowing that they didn't have any high draft picks, they knew that they were going to have to get super crafty with finding, those hidden gems in those later rounds. And that's something that they do really well compared to a lot of other teams. It's always been part of their strategy, getting like the Cooper Cups of the world, and when you get these players in the later rounds that make a big impact, that's known as stealing the draft. Okay, that's a sports terminology. So when they came to us with a very simple idea of creating a fake movie trailer that they were going to premiere prior to last year's NFL draft about stealing the draft. So the idea was to make a trailer for what looked like a heist film, like an Ocean's 11, those kind of films. But the goal was, when we didn't want people to know right out of the gate that this was for the LA Rams. We wanted them to think that they were watching an actual trailer for a movie. So that was it. That was the brief. That was all. That was the idea. There wasn't a script. It was literally just, we create a fake movie trailer for a heist film about stealing the draft. So it was super exciting. I love the Rams. I'm born and raised in LA. So, to have this opportunity, we were super stoked. So I immediately got started on coming up with ideas. I brought on a writer to kind of develop the script with me. And we started looking at trailers for every heist film, Ocean's 11, and even like action thrillers, like Mission Impossible and Christopher Nolan movies like Tenet and Inception. Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah. And so we kind of looked at, we broke down like what all these trailers looked like. We looked at all the different tropes of what characters you typically see in these films. And then just based on that, we wrote a script, and we knew that some of the Rams players, like Matthew Stafford and Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey, were going to be featured in the spot. That was something that the Rams asked for. So we kind of came up with these characters that, were based on, a lot of the tropes that you see in these genre films. So without further ado, I don't want to bore you to death. I'm going to share my screen again. I'm going to show you the film. I'll talk a little bit more about, how we brought it to life. And then I'll show you a case study to see how it was received. So let's. I think someone needs to.
Everything has changed. Everyone wants what we have. We have to protect what's ours. The only question is, are you in?
Suppose the phrase "quit while you're ahead" doesn't apply here.
Why would we do that?
I'll assemble the crew. We have the right fit.
So you can clearly see the result is 23/20. Any questions?
I have one. You want to drive or should I? Oh, shit.
You remember the last time I said just trust me?
Yeah, I woke up passed out in Cabo.
No, the time before that.
We all made history.
Hi,
Damn
we
right
can't
we
see your
did.
screen.
Staff, need you on the ground calling the shots. Van, well, I need you in the van.
Sorry, you guys think you can't see that? Oh, shoot. Okay.
No,
sorry
Mike, we
about
could
that.
not.
All right, let's try that again.
I mean, we heard it just fine.
All right. Sorry about that, guys. Let's try one more time.
Everything has changed.
Are you able to see it now?
Everyone wants what we have.
No.
We have to protect
No, we're not
what's
seeing anything.
ours. The only question.
You're well, that sucks. You're able to hear it though? Let me try.
Yes, we could hear it.
What we have.
No.
All right, sorry about that, everybody.
It's okay. Yes, but we
Let me
cannot
try.
heal.
You see the screen now?
Yeah.
Yes, Mike.
There we go. It's on.
You can see it now?
Yes, Mike, we can. Thank you so
All right,
much.
let's play it. Sorry about that.
Everything has changed.
There we go.
Everyone wants what we have. We have to protect what's ours. The only question is, are you in?
Suppose the phrase "quit while you're ahead" doesn't apply here.
Now, why would we do that?
I'll assemble the crew. Make sure we have the right fit.
So as you can clearly see, the result is 23/20. Any questions?
I have one. You want to drive or should I? Oh, shit.
You remember the last time I said just trust me?
Yeah, I woke up passed out in Cabo.
No, the time before that.
We all made history.
Damn right we did. Staff, need you on the ground calling the shots. Van, well, I need you in the van. That's all communication. AD, I need you laser focused on the one thing you do best, complex data analytics. Nick, you're on recon.
I got eyes all around.
Over 1 million people a week visit Las Vegas. Except for next week. That number doubles because of one event.
The draft.
Celine Dion.
You didn't just say Celine Dion, did you? Did you just say that?
The Rams are on the clock.
Yellow 25, you're on the move.
Find your angle and don't hesitate.
I never hesitate. Target inbound. I see the case.
There's no room for error on this one.
I'm the only one that understands how real this is. We gotta do this now.
Les Lee and Sean McVay, they throwing caution to the wind.
Too many imposters try to do what we do. Nobody does what we do.
They know. It gotta be now.
Kill, kill, kill.
Cover's blown, they know.
Get out now.
Rams are gonna bomb this draft. Can't do those kind of things.
Traded all their picks away.
We got 10 seconds left. We got this, right?
Tell me we're good.
Tony, Sean, you're gonna want to see this.
That is not McVay's strength. Sean McVay's supposed to be boy genius.
The house always wins.
We're gonna do what no one said we could.
Les, gotta go now.
The Los Angeles Rams select.
We're gonna steal the draft.
All right, so that was Rams on the clock. So that was again just a really fun, awesome project that we got to work on. Again, so when we came up with the script for it, brought on a writer. We studied all the trailers for similar films, and And, again, part of the brief was, we always wanted to get like some big name talent to play Coach McVay, Les Snead, the GM, and Stan Kroenke, the owner. So that was a big part of the process going into the job as well, just reaching out to the talent agencies to see like who would even be interested and willing to do it, within our budget. So we were fortunate enough to get, I don't know if you recognize Dennis Quaid. So he played Stan Kroenke, the owner. Josh Holloway, who is one of the stars of the series Lost, and he's on Yellowstone. He played Les Snead, the GM. Tyrese Gibson played Raheem Mostert, the defensive coordinator. So we got really lucky with some great talent. And then again, with some of the players that we featured in it, we just wanted to have fun, kind of mirror some of the types of characters that you often see in these heist films. There's usually, the guy in charge who's coming up with the plan, like the George Clooney and Brad Pitts in the Ocean's movies. Usually have, and then so a plan is kind of put into place. It's a team is assembled, the plan is executed, but then problems arise, and then you build to this crescendo. So we kind of followed, the language and all these tropes from the genre pretty closely, because again, we wanted people to think that what they were seeing was an actual movie trailer. But then we also played against some of these tropes too, to have some fun. So like Aaron Donald, who's, this human Incredible Hulk. He's one of the best defensive ends in the league. You would think that he would be the muscle, but we wanted to just kind of flip that on its head. And instead, as you saw, he was leading a computer programming class. He was the computer genius hacker. So again, just kind of flipping things on its head. And we ultimately, once it was awarded, we were able to get Paul Hunter on, one of the director. He's one of the partners of Prettybird and just legendary director. Has done some of the most iconic music videos of all time and does some great commercials. And we also got really fortunate for our cinematographer. We were able to bring on Bob Richardson. He does most of Quentin Tarantino's movies and a lot of Scorsese's films. So we knew it was going to look incredible, and hopefully you guys agree with that. And then, once we launched it, it went viral. It got an incredible reception. So just real quickly, I'm going to play a case study that talks about the reaction that it got. So hopefully, and then I'll kind of open it up to any questions if you guys have any. So hopefully we don't have tech problems on this. Just let me know if you're not able to see this in 1 sec.
Last season, the Los Angeles Rams
Seeing it and hearing it.
Football wisdom.
Got to go big or go home. You've got to compete, make your mark.
They traded away all of their future draft picks to acquire veteran players.
The Rams had no first-round picks.
They don't own a pick inside the top 100.
They have nothing.
Don't blow this.
They were questioned.
You cannot have that be the setup for the draft.
And criticized.
So Rams are going to bomb this draft.
They traded all their picks away.
Rams, F on their draft grade already.
F already? F.
They answered by winning the Super Bowl.
The Los Angeles Rams are world champions!
They held the most coveted trophy in their sport, but as they entered the 2022 NFL Draft, they had no first-round picks, leaving them out of the media coverage and all of the intrigue and drama that surround the event. In typical Rams fashion, they went against the grain, again, and decided to create their own drama around the draft. Well, more than action heist drama, to be specific.
We're gonna steal the draft.
This is On the Clock.
Suppose the phrase "quit while you're ahead" doesn't apply here. Now, why would we do that?
A celebrity-filled, action-packed trailer with all of the trappings of a Hollywood blockbuster.
They have Dennis Quaid, Scott Eastwood, Tyrese, Josh Holloway.
Every scene is a crafted homage to the heist film genre.
You're on recon. I got eyes all around.
Anything that felt inauthentic or too much like a commercial would quickly be overlooked by a very savvy audience. This had to be a misdirect at the highest level.
Find your angle and don't hesitate.
So, Did it work?
It is spectacular.
I loved it. Smooth.
I actually want to see the movie.
On the Clock piled up $3 million in earned media with a 92% positive fan reaction.
They dropped one of the coolest hype videos that I have ever seen.
Total impressions, 622 million in 1 week.
I rewatched it too many times to count.
This video went viral.
Huge.
Even the king himself decided it was worthy of sharing.
I've never been more blown away by something a team has put together.
They are so far ahead of everybody else.
The house always wins.
This is how the Los Angeles Rams stole the 2022 NFL Draft. It stole the hearts of fans all over the country.
1 million people a week visit Las Vegas because of one event.
Celine Dion.
You didn't just say Celine Dion, did you?
All right, so that gives you kind of a sense of the reaction that it got. So yeah, I mean, again, I think it worked really well. We got incredible reaction from Rams fans and even non-Rams fans, which was surprising. So again, it was just a really, really exciting project. So I know we only have a few minutes left. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to drop it in the chat. I know this was a lot of information to cram into an hour, so hopefully I didn't bore you to death and it wasn't too overwhelming. But again, just as aspiring, filmmakers or creatives, I just also want to just kind of give you a sense of the possible career paths that you guys might want to look into. I mean, of course, there's directing. A lot of people. A lot of young filmmakers, start out in, music videos, which, the reason why we have that at Prettybird, even though they don't make a lot of money really because the budgets aren't big, it gives creatives, a really great platform to showcase, their artistry as a creative, as a filmmaker, and potentially, use that work to then transition into directing commercials or film and TV. But then also, you have a lot of other jobs that, when I was in film school and high school, like I didn't even realize existed, treatment writers, like the whole treatment process, like there's a whole industry around that, where if you're, interested in pursuing writing, treatment writers working with the directors and the production companies on that process, the image researchers and designers, again, we have a team that are on staff here in-house that help pull all those references and design the layouts and the pitch decks for all the projects that we're bidding on, but there's also, a lot of image researchers and designers, do this freelance. And then on the ad agency side, just copywriting and art directing and creative directing and, there's strategy, which I didn't even get into, and producing. So there's a whole number of paths that I encourage you to look into. And again, I know a lot of us, most of us probably hate watching commercials. But I promise you there's some incredibly talented filmmakers and creatives working in that space that are doing really amazing work that do make an impact. And, you'd be surprised at, what you can create and do in 30 seconds or 60 seconds. Again, I don't see any questions. What is my name? Mike Rosen. I'm the VP of Development at Prettybird and our Executive Creative Director at our sister company, Ventureland. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this. In the future, I might do some workshops on just what that treatment process looks like and get in more in detail on that. So if you guys are interested in that, we'll keep you posted. But yeah, I don't know, any advice for getting early on experience? Well, I would, just for starters, just, familiarize yourself with some of the production companies out there that do commercial work like Prettybird and just watch as many movies and TV shows and just, study, some of these great directors and look at the work that they're doing. As far as like entry level positions, usually, Prettybird, we offer internships and PA positions. So that's just a great way just to get your foot in the door and learn about it. I started out fresh out of college as an office PA, production assistant. And I literally did that for 2 years, just kind of, doing just basic, entry level office work. But when I was there, I made the most of it. I would just sponge, and introduce myself to everyone at the company, try to, get friendly with all the directors and producers. And I just studied like everything that we did as a company, and then just tried to like own every project that I was given. What's been my favorite project to work on? Hands down, this Rams project. That's why I was so excited to share with you. Again, as a Rams fan, and just getting to work with them. And, it's not every day that you get a brief like that from a professional sports team. So it was super cool. And it was really unique because, most sports franchises don't spend that kind of money on content, let alone content that's just attached to a draft. So it was a really unique experience, and just everything just really came together. Any other questions? I would also just say, once you guys do get those first jobs, or internships, make the most of it. Be proactive. Don't wait for people to, come find you and assign you a task. Just learn everything you can about what that company does and try and find projects that you can do. And in that process, you'll probably find things that you're passionate about that maybe you went into, not realizing that you get excited about. Again, like I had no interest or desire to get into advertising, but I had an opportunity to, work at a commercial production company. And, I just kind of soaked it up and just learned every bit about it and, realized that it was something that I wanted to pursue as my career. What was my degree in undergrad? I studied film studies at UC Santa Barbara. So at the time I wanted to get into directing features, movies, or TV. But I also knew, I was realistic, knowing that it's so hard to become a feature film director. So if I wasn't doing that, I knew I just wanted to be doing something in entertainment. All right. Anyone else? We got a couple minutes left. Anyways, if you're interested in seeing more of our work, you can check out our website. It's prettybird.co, and Ventureland is venture.land. And hopefully you'll be checking out some of our upcoming documentaries and some of our shows that we have in development. Let's see, MG, any side projects that you work on, or what would you say the work-life balance is like? Great question. Let's see, how do I answer that? Side projects, honestly, not at the moment. Like most of the projects that I'm kind of overseeing, that I'm developing, are done, in the company. So there are projects that we develop for film and TV, that we kind of develop as a company. Sometimes these are ideas that are brought to us from other companies or other filmmakers, and they're looking to us to partner up with, and we might get behind it as a company. Other times there are ideas that we kind of generate internally just as producers, and we kind of, and sometimes we'll do it as groups. And there's some projects like each of us kind of have our own little pet projects. So, there are ideas that I come up with that I'm kind of doing on my own, but, nothing that's done outside of the company. in our websites right now if you want to check them out. And the work-life balance, look, I'm going to be brutally honest with you guys. The film and advertising industry, it's you put in a lot of hours, but again, that's a way to kind of make your market at a company, just kind of grinding it out. And, when you're working on set, like if you're a set PA or a line producer or a production coordinator, most productions, are give or take 10-hour days. The Rams job, as an example, was a 4-day shoot, and then we did a pickup day for just some of the driving shots. So you might, if you're doing that freelance life, working on set, you might work, a week at a time and then have some time off, in between jobs. Yes, my name. Can I put my name in here? Yes. Mike Rosen. Well, I think that about does it. Again, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Apologies if I bored you to death and overwhelmed you with information. I know, again, there's a lot to cram in here in 1 hour. There's so much more I can get into the weeds with you on. But yeah, thank you again for giving me your time and allowing me to speak with everyone.